Nigeria's Bureau of Public Enterprises has pre-qualified 4 firms and issued them with a request for proposal for the concession of the Calabar and Kano free trade zones. Bamidele Ayemibo, an export consultant, joins me to discuss this development. Bamidele, thank you for taking the time out to join us today.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Well, this has been on since 2018 when the National Council on Privatization approved the reform of the Calabar and Kano free trade zones. 4 years later, we now have 4 contenders or bidders, as it were. So what should we expect from here on? How long would the process, or should the process typically take?
It's a good development, and of course, it has taken such a long time, which is not unexpected. I mean, for a country like Nigeria that is desperately in need of forex, and with Nigeria Export Processing Zone setting up, giving concession now to ensure that these zones are run in a very efficient manner, it shouldn't be, I mean, I don't expect this to take more than 6 months to 1 year. But the good thing is that we are making progress, and we hope that they will be able to take over and begin to work as soon as possible.
Now, there have been a number of issues around the growth or the development of Nigeria, so how Nigeria has harnessed its free trade zones. Correct me if I'm wrong, I understand they're worth about $30 billion, a great chance to industrialize, diversify the companies, the country's income streams, etc. We've seen it work successfully in other climes, India, China, even here in Africa, Kenya, Ethiopia, but it would appear that Nigeria hasn't had much luck in harnessing the potential of its free trade zones. What are the major issues? Why is it that we cannot overcome them?
All right, the challenge mainly is the same challenge that we are confronted with in Nigeria, that is making export not grow the way it's supposed to be, from infrastructure to power to a lot of issues that an average business will have to face. The only benefit for those in free trade zone really is the fact that they have a tax holiday. They still have to contend with a lot of issues that other businesses in Nigeria are contending with, and this is right in the midst of also corrupt practices that tends to increase the cost of doing business in those zones, even though these zones are supposed to be free in the sense that they are not paying some of the taxes that is expected of them to the government.
All right, but what do you think, how are you optimistic that things will be different this time? We know that obviously the participation of the private sector is key here. We have these 4 firms, it looks good on paper, but what are the assurances that as we move forward, we won't come back to have this same conversation?
The only way I'll be optimistic is if the regulator do their job. The port also have had concession, and sometimes these guys become larger than life. They are now doing things that tend to hamper the businesses operating under their purview, and the regulator are not doing so much about it. Just like the way we have it in Apapa, a lot of issues happening, a lot of charges being imposed on businesses, and if the regulator does not regulate the way they should, even though it's not concession to private sector, we might not see a lot of changes. So I would still expect NEBSA to do what they need to do to ensure that these concessionaires do what they need to do to not to stifle business at the essence of making money, but rather, while they also, of course, profitable, they also render the needed services to ensure business in that zone grow.
Now, for the ports like or the zones like in the free trade zones in Calabar and Kano, what is special, or what do they have any competitive advantages? What can we expect when I'm talking, hypothetically now? Let's just jump several steps forward and just pretend that all went well. What can we expect in terms of how that will boost economic activities in those zones?
These are supposed to be, NEFSA is Nigerian Export Processing Zone. These are supposed to be zones where goods are processed for the purpose of export. But my observation is that a number of people setting up are not setting up for the purpose of export. They are setting up for the purpose of selling, even in the domestic market. So, but for the one in Kano, for example, with AFCFTA coming on stream, huge opportunity available in the Sahara, North Africa, huge opportunity available for those ones being set up there. And if they want to export through the Apapa port with the rail coming on board, maybe that will help them to be able to move their goods to Lagos, to be able to ship out. But I would expect any business setting up in a free zone in the north to be looking at Niger and other countries in North Africa rather than coming down south. For the one in Calabar, similar, the benefit is that you're operating just like those in Lagos. You're operating a free zone with the goal of exporting. If we can work around this idea of the fact that they establish mainly even though they are giving access to sell 100% in the local market, but establishing mainly for the goal of export. If that is our focus and we work towards that, then that will help us a great deal. And of course, probably contribute significantly to the even with FS locally. So I expect that those in the north have an opportunity, I mean, right there, shipping to the North Africa, and of course in Calabar, shipping to West Africa and Central Africa, taking advantage of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement.
Well, it will be great to see that happen. But let's talk about maybe, you and I always talk about lessons that we can learn from other climes, other countries with perhaps similar economies like ours who have done certain things, initiatives, and have been successful at it. A country like Kenya, Ethiopia, I don't want to go too far, China, India, but what lessons can we take? Can we take a leaf from those countries in terms of how we address some of the issues? I imagine they probably had some issues that we had, but they were able to overcome them.
Yes, the fact that the regulator have the interest of the country at heart and ensure that whoever is operating the sector follow the rule as expected. But more important is also making adequate infrastructure available for the people to be able to do what they need to do. And also ensuring that it is geared towards exportation. Geared towards, if we are setting up a free zone and giving 100% locally to the export market, we might not be achieving the objective we want to. For countries that do this, they do it for the purpose of exporting. So that at the end of the day, we're able to get that value we're expecting in terms of exchange rate, foreign exchange coming to the country. But what I realize in some of this destination is that the people in charge are interested in getting results. I've had to interact with those operating for Dubai. They are interested in getting results. So if they give you this concession and you're not performing, of course they will give it to someone else. Rather allow you to be there and not delivering value. You're just making money at the business and not enjoying what you're doing.